Hey, welcome to the Northeast Football Podcast. Three's a crowd, and thank you to Northumbria Police Marching Band. Is it Ted who gave us the permission?
It was Northumbria Police Band. They don't actually exist anymore, believe it or not. But I had to go out to the former secretary of the band, Jeff, my old band dad. I used to play for them many years ago. I thought let's keep it traditional. Let's keep it Northeast. Let's keep it industrial. Let's have a proper brass band. So, yes, there we go. That was my pick. If you lads have a better suggestion for a theme tune or anybody watching, we're all ears. But let's make it, a democracy, lads.
Yeah, well, Gary says, have I turned into brassed off? Rye's definitely brassed off. Me and Ted are chipper, is the best way to describe us. Where do we start? Painfully Boro or the smiling Mackham or the jovial Geordie? Let's go with the painful Boro, Rye. Get it out of the way, son. Oh, you're on mute. You've muted yourself. You're that disappointed. We can't even hear you.
What? I'm here. Sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I apologize. I was muted. Look, honestly, let's start off with the Leeds win. Absolutely emphatic. We're going to win it all. 3-0 in the Carabao Cup. It was in the second half demolition of Leeds United. And you know what? I'm actually taking it as an early lesson in what was the defeat yesterday to Derby County, obviously newly promoted to Championship. We go down 1-0 to a shocking mistake from Izzy Jones, who goes to back pass to the keeper. The keeper's not there, and on runs the Derby player to score in the 14th minute, and then they just hold on. They just dig in as much as they could for the rest of the game, and that's it. And Middlesbrough just can't break them down. Derby... and no offense, were absolutely shocking. They weren't by any means a formidable force. It was just, it was like 30 shots to 1 in the end to us. It's just that we could not break them down. It was just one of those games, classic championship sort of style of things. So, yeah, look, all the highs from the Carabao Cup and, beating Leeds in their own backyard was absolutely fantastic. But as I'm saying, it's a really good lesson to have early in the season, because if we had won this as well, when you be feeling untouchable. The players, and there's got to be a point where that breaks, and maybe this is a lesson for that group right now that we're not untouchable. We can be beaten, and we're going to have to pull our socks up no matter what we face, whether it's Derby County away or it's Leeds United at home. So whatever it is, that the boys can kick in. So, yeah, hopefully lesson learned for us and a bit of an awakening that we need to, put in a shift every game, because this is the way the championship is. Any team can beat anyone on their day.
Yeah, doom and gloom for those of a Boro persuasion. But the red and whites are smiling, and you've dashed across your country that you're in to get to the studio to come and do this. But what a result for Sunderland today, 4-0 against Sheffield Wednesday.
Sorry about the big gap, Steve and Rye.
Mine's bigger. It's a division.
That's true. No, hey lads, what? He's turning your mic off and your camera. Although you do turn your mic off without being prompted.
Only when I'm eating.
Lads, honestly, what a performance that was today.
No.
That caught me by surprise. I went there, watched it with Chef Wed Kev, who you lads know now. Expecting a tough game, expecting a feisty game. With it being on Sky, I was expecting them to be just talking about Barry Bannon for 90 minutes, to be honest. But getting an early goal made all the difference. I fancied my end to do well. Only because he led the line so well against Cardiff without scoring last week, but 2 goals for the lad that did. That left on his confidence the absolute world of good. People forget that he actually arrived pretty much injured when we signed him last season. He went and had that loan spell in Hibernian, but he really, really took his chance as well today. All right, you could say that Josh Windass has had an absolute western for 2 of the goals, and he really did. He was shocking, Josh Windass today. But Mayenda took his opportunities well. Luke O'Nien following up, a centre back almost playing as a striker today, following up the ball, very, very clever. Beat the offside trap, and of course Dennis Serkin's header. All of a sudden we've learned how to play set pieces, which is something we've not had for a good long while. Brilliant performance, faultless from start to front. I thought, especially Chris Rigg, he was just sublime today. Absolutely sublime today. Just generally all over the park, you couldn't pick any fault with it. We're one of only 3 teams with a 100% record after 2 games, and that's an absolute cracking start of the season for us. We couldn't have asked for any more. Regis Labrise, the jury's going to be out with some fans still, but let's be honest, he can't do any more than that. Let's put the cup aside. I said last week, not interested in the cup. For me, come out of it straight away. Let's concentrate on league form. He saw what he needed to see out the reserve team 11. Not a lot to pick from there. Maybe the likes of Rigg, as I say, he's quantified why he should be in the starting 11 today. But the rest of it, absolutely superb. Absolutely knocked the socks off them today. It was brilliant.
And a new deal for Job midweek as well. Obviously signing him on for a longer term, obviously is a big deal. So been a good week, minus the striker search. Honestly, it seems like you're finally getting, the house in order.
Got a striker. I mean, it's not like for 2 years I've been worried about that. No, let's be honest. Hey, we still need to sign a striker. There's no shirking away from that whatsoever. But for me, yeah, the Job signing's brilliant. It's one of those, lads. Let's be honest. It puts more on his value when undoubtedly big teams come knocking for him. And I've got that same kind of worry about Serkin now as well. That's 2 games he's played this season. Shows how much we missed him last season. He was just absolutely incredible today. Really, really good. Yeah. We've just got to hold on to these lads. We've got some decisions to make when people come out of injuries, because now it's all in form, but we've also got a kind of plan to be without a couple of these players as well.
And on to Stevie boy. What an absolute interesting start to your season, mate. Do I start it off with a...
You mean one of these? I've got to be honest, lads. It was a dull as dishwater start of the season for Newcastle in the first 25 minutes. Newcastle just I wouldn't say they were outclassed. They were outthought by Southampton. They came with a game plan, they stuck to it. And that first 25 minutes was, as usual, Newcastle's crowd well up for it first 10, 15 minutes. And then we just started to hit that little bit of a lull where people were like scratching their heads and how on earth aren't we 3-0 up and, all of that kind of business. And it burst into life. 28th minute, we got a free kick in the centre circle, but then obviously the focus shifted upfield to the penalty area at the Leazes end that the hosts were defending, and there was this clash between Fabian Schär and Ben Brayton Diaz, and to be honest, Diaz I felt should have been punished for the push because we've seen the footage. He shoved Fabian Schär. Yeah. And that in a sense started it, and Fabian Schär then obviously stood up. If you look at one angle, it looks as if Scher's the only person to move his head, but if you look at the angle facing Diaz, Diaz moves his head forward, Shaw moves his head forward, but then Diaz does what all centre forwards are going to do. He hits the floor like a
more like Cameron Diaz than Brereton Diaz. Like
it was terrible. It was terrible. He's clutching his face. He's theatrically fallen to the floor. Craig Pawson, who had an absolute nightmare, issues the red card. It was the right decision because that action deems that it should be a red card. So Fabian Schär's got nothing to complain about. Obviously, the red card check on VAR was upheld. Diaz was booked for for his part in the incident, but it changed the atmosphere. Suddenly it became a cauldron. Diaz couldn't touch the ball without getting a chorus of boos. And it just became one of those games where, the crowd had to play their part, and they played their part really well. There was a bit of humour for me in the game throughout when people were booing the wrong person with long hair. Some people hadn't managed to keep a track on him. Diaz was. So
maybe it's just a fashion statement.
One of the other players was getting some stick, but anyway, at the end of the first half, goalkeeping error, ball falls to Isak, looks up, plays the ball to Joe Linton, who's unmarked at the back post and strokes the ball in to get what turned out to be the winner. The second half was literally all backs to the walls defending. Newcastle, on the day, there's nobody better than Newcastle doing that. Last year, we conceded a hatful of goals. That was our downfall. If that's the way we are going to defend this season, Newcastle will be there or thereabouts in every competition because they really did well yesterday to nullify Southampton, who should have gone on to win yesterday, and the stats backed it up. I think we were looking at the stats in the WhatsApp group that we got last night, and it was El Alamo. There's no other way to describe it. But Newcastle decided to set themselves up as a defensive unit, and credit to Eddie Howe and Tyndall for doing that, and credit to the players for putting it together. And for me, I thought Dan Burn, Sean Longstaff, and Joe Linton probably were the standout players for me. Obviously Joe Linton gets the goal, but he put in a hell of a shift, a hell of a defensive shift. Sean Longstaff, as always, did the dirty work, but put in some really good tackles to win some big big balls, and some in some big occasions. And got to give mention to Lewis Hall. He didn't have the best of games, but that off the line clearance was as good as the goal that Joe Linton scored and secured us the 3 points. So, Lewis Hall will have better games in a black and white shirt. But all in all, good team performance. Nick Pope makes a difference in goal. Bruno captaining the team as well yesterday. Yeah. He was obviously very proud that he was captaining the team. But I thought he did his usual 7 out of 10. Nothing spectacular from Bruno, but because they were down to 10 men, everything changed. The whole game plan changed and everything. But it was good to be back. It's 3 points on the board. We had to get 3 points. Man United got 3 points. Villa got 3 points. Obviously we had Liverpool. They got 3 points as well. All those teams that will be there or thereabouts at the top end of the table with us, we all won. So presuming Man City win today against Chelsea, it's as you were at the top of the table, usual suspects getting the wins, and from our perspective, that could be the big result in May that we look back on and go, how we got European football, that game against Southampton at the start of the season, and you win games like that, the games that carry you through. But listen, great day. I managed to avoid going to the Stack, which is something I'll probably manage to avoid doing for the rest of my life. But it was chock-a-block. Apparently, people happy to pay £7 a pint. Good day out. Good catching up with everybody. Just great for the season to start again, lads.
I just love questions for me, Steve. Sorry, mate. Just a couple of questions for me. The Bruno captaincy, is that a statement from the club? Because obviously Man City have been linked with him very, very heavily, to be honest. He's exactly the sort of player that Man City love to have. He's Pep's kind of player. Yeah. The captaincy yesterday, is that the club's way of saying not for sale, Steve?
Yeah, and I think he's come out now and said he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to leave Newcastle United. He wants to stay at the club until he wins something. He could be here for 50 years in that case. But he's committed. There's no doubt about it. We aren't going to lose him. We aren't going to lose Isaac. Some people were reading into Anthony Gordon's body language yesterday. That's rubbish. Gordon isn't going anywhere either. We'll keep our blue chip players. We've got to bring another one in. Will it be Gahey? I see lots of people in the chat talking about it. I doubt it. I think it's off. I think that'll collapse now. I thought it was through. I thought it was going to go through on Friday, but then the signs and the noises you're getting from various quarters, it doesn't sound promising. He's playing today for Palace. Watched the first 25 minutes. Difficult to judge him on that, but some people saying he looks off his game. I'm not sure whether that's going to go through, and it'll be disappointing for the player if it's down to Palace's stupidity that they've constantly messed Newcastle around in this whole deal. But who knows? But Bruno, it's a statement, mate. Yeah.
It's an interesting one with obviously the Crystal Palace back and forth, but Dan Ashworth, and co, the good thing is that I think that you're negotiating well. Do you know what I mean? And you're not paying overs. And I think most clubs when Newcastle come knocking are going to want Newcastle to pay overs. It's just the thing, isn't it? But the fourth, the second, that's the way to do it. And hopefully you land your man. I mean, you've got a red carded centre back now that you can have a spot for. But the one thing that I want to just wrap up that game with is that. How dare they call that a headbutt when we live in the era of Zidane? Do you know what I mean? I mean, we've all seen a proper headbutt. To classify that as a headbutt when it's a forehead rub, you know what I mean? Like that. When I greet you guys finally IRL, what Shah did is what I'm going to do to you guys to greet. It's just, hey boys, you know what I mean? It's just to classify that as a headbutt was just incredible. But honestly. Congratulations, and obviously Ted, congratulations to you today as well. Obviously Carabao Cup, obviously Teddy boy, take a breather, mate, going out to Preston. Middlesbrough into the next round. We've got Stoke at home, but Stevie boy, you pulled out a Premier League opponent in Nottingham Forest.
What a surprise. Newcastle getting drawn away in the cup against the Premier League. The only Premier League tie, and it's Newcastle. I'm
going to get you a foil hat for next week, I'm telling you.
There is a bit of paranoia, lads, isn't there? We all do feel like it's, it is...
the same as Middlesbrough getting easy draws all the time as well, mind, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be Chris Wood. And
look after us.
Chris Wood and Elliot Anderson.
It will be,
Horn Newcastle in Forest. I'll be going down to that game. I'm looking forward to it. It's always a good day. I've got some good mates down there as well. I think it's going to be on the Tuesday night. So, fingers crossed that will be an opportunity for Newcastle to progress. But looking at Sunderland, Ted last week said he didn't want to be in it. Well, he got his wish. It looks like they're going to concentrate on the league. But Boro through, and Boro had a good little run last year. Newcastle had a good little run last year. Maybe this is the year that we finally face each other in the cup.
I was hoping. I was watching the draw. I was watching the draw live, and we were all sitting there, just going, give us the Geordies, go on, just do it. But look, the most important thing was we were hoping for a home tie. We haven't had a home tie. I think it was like 7 games in a row for the Carabao fixture. Obviously, we had the Chelsea, which was just a given. But in terms of the ball drop. And I found it funny watching the coverage when she said Millwall, not to be confused by Middlesbrough. So obviously Millwall and Middlesbrough are quite close in pronunciation or something by that. No, nice host job. But yeah, no, it was great to get a home dry. We then pull out Stoke. There's a viral video going around on social media of one of the fans, Berto's reaction to pulling Stoke. He did swear. It was funny, but look, I was just happy that we got a home tie, but. Again, like Ted said, it's one of those ones where did the Carabao Cup last season hurt us more with their injuries? We both, Steve and I, obviously Newcastle had massive injuries to deal with last season. It was, unprecedented, which absolutely derailed, anything that we had for the start of the season. We came good end of season, but that was because we had some fit players. But again, the cup runs can be, they're more football. We saw that with European football for Newcastle last season as well. The amount of games, and Dan Byrne doing a podcast, Steve, that we spoke about, I think, last year about how, it is a big commitment when it's not something that they shy away from, but it is, you do start to go, my goodness, you're backing up Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. We've got Stoke City at home, but we need to take a big lesson. Our big hope is that we take a lesson from the Derby County, because we shouldn't have lost that. If we've got any serious intentions this season, then we should have been pushing Derby out, or at least taking a point. Do you know what I mean? Because the good teams do that. And unfortunately, yeah, we don't. But yeah, on to Stoke. It's going to be an interesting game. Stoke are very set up to defend well. They play an ugly style of football under Schumacher, but not as ugly as Wayne Rooney. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But look, Sunderland, honestly, my surprise, I would say, I had Chef Wed as a top team this season, just due to the recruitment, Danny Rowe, all that sort of stuff, Teddy Boy. But honestly, I hate to say it, but old Reggie Labrie Cheese is got you firing, because 2 good wins, Cardiff, and not only good wins, but scoring as well without the striker. Without a real big overhaul of that squad, plus Job committing, to a new manager like that. You must be feeling top of the world at the moment, especially after the way you finished the end of last season.
Cautious optimism, to be honest. If anything, if the last 45 years on this planet has taught me, is Sunderland will eventually let you down. That's just the way it is. But Regis Labrie, in terms of the league, he's done all he can do so far, and that's win his first 2 games. And in the style that we've played, I think there's there's kind of memories of the way that the Mowbray side used to play in terms of some nice attacking football. But there was bite as well. And I messaged you lads around about half-time. We're 3-0 up. And then they're still fighting for the ball and fighting for possession and putting in snappy tackles. And that's what we want to see. That got the crowd lifted as much as the 3 goals before half-time did. And it's that little bit of desire, a little bit of hunger, a little bit of fight about them. And we've got a good opportunity with a nice, easy game. Next one at Burnley. Who've scored 9 in 2 games. Look, listen, they're the teams you've got to go and beat. If you're
7-2, though. You can't, don't rain on the parade, because you're 7-2. Cardiff maybe, but pushing Chef Wed across. I honestly had Chef Wed in top 6, and you've gone and smacked them 4-0. Do you know what I mean? I think, if anything, they were saying that when we beat Leeds 3-0 in the Carabao Cup, which is a completely different competition, we had a younger team as well. We'd made 7 changes to the team that beat Swansea 1-0, mind you. They're like, oh, that's sending warnings across the league. Well, I'll tell you what, today's performance with 4-0 against Chef Wed, that's sending warnings for me. Sunderland, they're going to be a good contender. I mean, it's the championship, like we say, isn't it? Any team can beat anyone on their day. But I mean, you're saying, oh, Burnley. I mean, it's going to be a tough test, but 7 goals in 2 games without that striker signing that you guys are craving so bad. I mean, he's got to get a bit of credit that does the cheese man.
Well, I was asking, do you think it's going to be your year then, Ted? I mean, you're saying cautious optimism, but and obviously, yes, I'd love to see the derby back, Carl. It's something which Newcastle and Sunderland fans love. We had one last year; it was fantastic. Your hospitality was amazing.
Oh, incredible! Can't wait to experience it myself.
I knew you'd get me back for that comment about 6 easy points. I knew you'd see it.
I hope they don't do Samson Lager down there anymore. I mean, look, this is the year, and Carl goes on to say Sunderland's in the league to get these cup runs. Premiership is our goal. Is that the goal this season? Definitely, you want to be in the Premier.
It's got to be.
Yeah,
it's got to be, Steve. And I think we're a couple of signings away from it. The biggest thing that pleased me today was, this is going to sound weird, the biggest thing that pleased me today is Jack Clark didn't score. And the fact that actually we can get goals from elsewhere. We're not just a one-man team. Paddy Roberts had a fantastic game today, and coming back to the form that he could have before, we're still, I think, a good couple of signings away from being a decent squad. We're still waiting for Sunderland to turn up from last year's game. I love that. Yeah, okay, all right. No, listen, we're a couple of signings away from it. I think it's a good start. We haven't got to get carried away with this. I think playoffs has still got to be the aim. We talked about last week about about realistic ambition. Playoffs has got to be the ambition for this season. If we get higher than that, we've had an absolute blinder. But for now, let's take the win. Let's take the fact that Jack Clark isn't the only talented player that we've got. We had a midfield who really, really performed outstandingly well today. Really, really outstanding. The one that's not going to get talked about is Dan Neil, who did so much hard work off the ball. And just did that. Steve, you've referred to this a few times as well with midfielders about doing that dirty work. The stuff that doesn't get featured on Match of the Day and Championship highlights. Dan Neil was exceptional today as a captain and as a midfielder. But it's a different kettle of fish when we get to Burnley next week. Let's just take that, and then if we're still playing this well by Christmas, then we'll maybe start believing in it.
It's a good point actually with Dan Neil there as well. Obviously being main captain, we spoke about Bruno there being captain. I mean, good statement from the club making Dan. Obviously after last season, the club captain being out for injury all season, but they still your captain. But Dan Neil this season taking the captain's armband is a good show of faith in what Dan's capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. He's You only have to listen to what the other players in the squad have to say about him, about being a proper baller, and by that he's got vision. He's a hard worker. He's a grafter of a midfielder as well. He does a lot of the unfashionable stuff. The likes of Job and Riggy as well, more technically gifted, I would probably say. But Dan Neil just holds that. He's the glue of the midfield. And I think that's a role he can really, really grow in. Again, he's another one of those midfielders, though, we're going to have to watch out because other teams will pick up on that. Somebody who can sit in that gap between the attacking midfielders and your defence and distribute the ball well, look after players making runs. That's not something you can teach easily. That's a natural talent. So, yeah, I think we've got to watch out that we keep a hold of Dan Neil for a few seasons at least.
Well, we could talk transfers, couldn't we? I mean, obviously, transfers is a big thing. Obviously, Middlesbrough signing Tommy Conway just before the 12 p.m. deadline on Friday. Tommy Conway, new striker from Bristol City. He was a player that was at Bristol, obviously had a very good season last season, but went into negotiations for a new deal, couldn't come to an agreement. Got sent down to the under-21s, has been training with the under-21s at Bristol for the whole of this start of this season, hasn't played a game, obviously, and then Middlesbrough finally coming in and taking him for around a rumour of $4 million. But it's great to have another striker in the books. We were craving another striker last season, especially with the injuries to Latte Lath. We left us with Josh Coburn, 19-year-old, one of our own. But to have Tommy Conway in the books, Middlesbrough, fifth signing of the summer, we've done really well, and it's been quality over quantity. We saw a summer last season where we had 13 to 14, players around now, but it's up to only 5, and I think it's really good show of intent that we're just aiming for that quality over quantity. But obviously we touched on it, Steve, but obviously he's playing right now for Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
But Mark Gray obviously still out of Newcastle's grasp at the moment. Do you think there's any intention of Newcastle getting him finally, or is it time to turn your intentions to someone else?
Listening to the chairman, he's really shown his true colours, I think, this week, and I just think Newcastle should walk away. I think they should, be looking at a different option now, because anything that gets played out publicly like this is embarrassing, not just for Newcastle, but for Crystal Palace as well. And it's certainly not doing the player any good. He's been turned inside out by Mbeumo for the goal there, I believe, today. I've just, I'll
just seen it, yeah.
I'll catch up with that, but that doesn't mean he's suddenly become a bad player overnight. He's had a great Euros. He's not the one that everyone was talking about, but he's come back now and everybody is talking about him. Newcastle were quoted 65 million for reasons best known to themselves. They went in, a lot lower, and that's what's dragged it on, and it's been played out publicly, and that's the disappointing thing for me as a supporter, that it's been played out publicly. Had this just gone on behind the scenes, then maybe it wouldn't have been as bad. But consensus of opinion from Newcastle fans who I met yesterday was, split down the middle, 50-50. 50% people think we should go in. If we haven't matched the 65, let's go with the 65. If we get them for 65, that's good business. If we're now looking at Parish not going to look an extra 5 just because Fabian Schär's got a 3-match suspension, then we need to walk away and we need to look at something else. The pressure isn't on the fans. The pressure isn't on Eddie Howe. The pressure isn't on anybody other than Mr. Mitchell, who's come to the football club. It's his job to go and find another face, another centre half, and maybe he will. We've talked a little bit on my channel on NUFC Matters about the French La Liga deal going downhill, and there could be some bargains to be had on the European circuit. So let's wait and see. 2 weeks to go, or just short of 2 weeks to go now for the transfer window. I think the fact that Bruno was given the captaincy and that Livramento was picked at right back means that Trippier's potential move out of the club may well still be possible in this window. Unless he's happy to sit on the sidelines, but it's going to be interesting. Still a lot of business to be done in the transfer window. So I'm not too down if we don't get Mark Gahey, that's for certain.
Okay. I think. Sorry, right? Go on, mate.
I was just going to ask you, Teddy boy, is old Feder allowed to dip into his kitty bag at all, or has Sunderland put the money away? Obviously, you keep getting rumoured with chasing a striker. There was the talk of that French striker. At Kane, is it, I believe, or Khan? I can't pronounce that because I won't even attempt it. But obviously, you were linked, with that French striker for a long time.
Yeah,
he has spoken in the press about the need that Sunderland still have for a striker. But obviously, it's been quite a quiet transfer window for Sunderland. It's been more about, if I'm honest, the holding downs of Jack Clark's. Really, I mean, he's the only one now. I mean, Joe was kind of rumored, but that got shut down quickly. Mm-hmm. We saw Dan Ballard maybe rumored, but then he signed a new deal. Patterson's, that sort of talk went away with Everton as well. So it's really, I mean, all I've seen out of
why would he go to Everton when they're coming down to the Championship anyway? What is the point of Everton being in the Premier League? What is the point? They've flirted with relegation for about 2 decades, honestly. Apologies, Everton fans, but yeah, you've overstayed your welcome. You know that bloke who turns up at your party, right? And he sits and he's just creepy with everybody and he puts everyone off and he kind of kills the mood. That's Everton, the Premier League. It's just like, just go home. Just go to where you need to be. Because honestly, you've overstayed your welcome. They're pointless. Absolutely. Well, they literally are pointless as well at the minute. Anyway, listen, transfer-wise, it has been quiet for us. There's still time to do business. I fully expect us to sign the rumoured striker that Mr. Mbappe has now bought the club, of course. But I still think the fact that this guy is training with the under-21s, he wants to move to Sunderland. I think it's going to happen. I really do. And a 31-year-old striker coming into the club alongside with Mayender as well, that would do us the world of good. I still think we're 1 or 2 spaces light. I would like to see us, maybe getting another full back in. I think we've got options at centre-back.
Yep.
It's going to be really interesting now because obviously Dan Ballard's got to come back into that side. You got O'Nien, who's playing very, very well. You had another great game today, I thought. Elisi at the left centre back, absolutely splendid. Really, really two fantastically solid games. Nothing got by him. Yep. So this is going to be really interesting what they do next. So, yeah, fullback, we're all right for keepers now. Pato's not going anywhere. Patterson doesn't have to leave Sunderland. He's a Sunderland fan. He's still only, 22, 23 years old.
Young, very young.
You know, Steve, you've seen plenty of goalkeepers in the past. You know for a fact that they don't come into their prime until late into their 20s, even in their 30s in some cases. So Pato's got plenty of time before he has to move as well. But yeah, I just want to come back on talk of transfers. Steve, you know, you mentioned Trippier there. Trippier is one of those where, you know, he didn't have the best of Euros. I'm just thinking, just the Newcastle kind of go, we could probably do without the wage bill. You know, as far as our favourite term, FFP, is concerned, maybe get Trippier off the wage bill and look at replacing with a younger model, maybe.
I certainly think there's been conversations with Trippier and his agent about what the future holds. You know, him and Wilson, you know, both got contracts that are running down. You know, we do have another transfer window after this one. Maybe they stay till January and then go in January because, you know, otherwise they go on freeze in the summer. But I think it's a similar situation for both of them. Miggy Almiron as well. You know, talk of a big deal falling through this week for Miggy. You know, it led to a bit of criticism on social media by some supporters. But yeah, I think there's plenty to be done in the next 12 days. And yeah, wages do come into it. But I think the passing of the baton has been done now, hasn't it? You know, the apprentice has now become the wizard, if you like, and Livermento's taken over from Trippier. It's as simple as that. He was given the nod yesterday. Do I think that Lewis Hall will be playing left back for the rest of the season? No. I think it will be Lloyd Kelly. I think Lloyd Kelly will fit in. I think Howe's decision this week will be whether he goes with Lloyd Kelly at left back, Dan Burn at centre half with Kraft, or whether he goes Dan Burn at centre half with Lloyd Kelly, which means two left footers playing centre half, which we know Howe doesn't like, and whether he goes with Lewis Hall at left back again. It's going to be interesting to see. That's the big decision he's got to make. He's got no Shaw for 3 matches now, and even if we did sign Gahey, he's not going to put him in straight into a competitive game with with no training with a team behind him. So interesting stuff, interesting times. But yeah, I think there'll be more goes out. Trippier, you know, he is on the decline, and we do know that he's had issues in his personal life, which keep sprouting up on social media.
No, really?
This is news to me.
I'd like to see him stay maybe for the next couple of months, just while Liverpool.
Tell us more, Steve.
Yeah. I do want to mention this, by the way. Andrew says, "Good to see this show on screen, lads. Not really faces for radio."
Thank you. Thank you.
No. And here's what David T says: "When is the first tease we had Derby?" He says, "Maybe whoever gets beat has to wear the opposition."
No. We've always refused to do that. We spoke about this on.
I'd rather do naked cartwheels than wear that.
We think we were going to do something along the lines of, I think, and it was floated by someone. I think it was a fan back in the early days that, you know, if there was a bet or something that Steve would wear a Boro top and that. And I think we've all straight out refused to ever wear the other club's kit. It just doesn't. It's just not in our culture, in our
Although
blood.
I do notice Steve is wearing the red and white training kit. It's maroon. I know.
Today because I was upset a little bit because I'm the only team that lost this weekend. But I mean, just quickly as well to wrap up with the signing things as well, Steve. Obviously, the news Tonali, brand new signing, potentially coming. Obviously, you know, it's like a new signing. He's back fit. He's back available 28th of August in just shy of 10 days now. Is it going to be straight in for Tonali? I mean, he's obviously had time to train. He hasn't been told to, you know, do you think he's just ready to go, match fitness, put him straight in? Or, and I want to ask you, is there any animosity towards him, or do the Newcastle faithful just, you know, he's done his time, you know, he paid, you know, he's paid up, you know what I mean? It's just back into what he knows best in playing football.
Yeah, he won't be straight back in the team. He'll be back in the squad. There's no doubt about that. And, Sean Longstaff now will have to play, week in, week out like he played yesterday to make sure that he doesn't give Tonali an easy route back into the team. But you would imagine that, Tonali will be, one of the first names on the team sheet when he does get that opportunity and take it. But Eddie Howe said he's he's as fit as he can be. Obviously, he hasn't played in any competitive games, so he will take his time. But we will see some substitute appearances from Tonali, and then it'll be down to when that chance comes. Who drops out and who he replaces. But yeah, I don't expect to be back in, and there's no animosity whatsoever. Eddie Howe went to great lengths on Friday at the press conference to say he wanted to thank the supporters for the support that they've given him. There's people have been singing the Tonali song away from home on what travels all of last season. So yeah, he knows he's well loved, well supported. He's got to come back and pay us back in spadefuls. The stats are there. 10 games that he played last season, we conceded 12 goals. We're a much tighter unit with him in the team. So, it'll be interesting to see where he comes in and how he fits in and what he does. Will have changed formation. I doubt it. I think he'll still play those three in the middle. It'll be eventually, probably, Bruno, Tonali, and Joelinton. It'll be those three who play. But
not a bad midfield.
What about your black and white kit, Ted? Lots of people are saying
black and white, right. Let's have this right. Let's have this right. So, if you haven't seen our new third kit, it's a piece of work. It's supposed to pay homage to the pit wheels. It looks more like a Wetherspoons plate. I've got to be honest. It's an acquired taste. Let's put it that way. I don't think I'll be rushing out to get that one. But it's actually, I can quantify these are navy and white stripes. It's navy blue and white. It's not black and white. We can confirm that. But it's, go and have a look at it. It's not the nicest third kit. I was expecting better than that. Look, Hummel, I wanted to talk to you lads about this actually, because I know we've got a little bit of time left. The shirts for the season, and Steve, I've already said to you about your away shirt. I think that's an absolute blinder of a kit. I hate saying it. I absolutely hate saying it. It's an iconic remake. We've both gone for remakes this season, to be fair. Obviously, Sunderland's kit is a rehash of that 91-92 one, the one that Sunderland fans obviously have always said it's their favourite away kit ever. I've got it. I'll be wearing it on the show next week. I absolutely love it. Hummel have done an absolutely blinding job. The home kit, obviously, you can see there the ships of the old badge are kind of woven into the red stripes. They've done a beautiful job with the home kit as well. But Steve, Adidas back again. It's a bit like Hummel for us. It's that emotional tie that you've got with that manufacturer and that rehash of the away kit, mate, and the advertising that went with it. Newcastle absolutely nailed that, you've got to say.
Yeah, I think both teams, I think Newcastle and Sunderland, you've just mentioned it. I think both teams have gone down that road of, retro, and it looks great. Yeah. And it does touches a nerve with supporters of a certain vintage. So, well done to both of them, I guess. There's always going to be tops that people don't like, whether you're black and white, whether you're Boro, whether you're Sunderland, there's always going to be a top that you think, I don't like it. And I'm not a fan of that. But there was a good smattering of all strips yesterday. I've bought all three. And I bought.
At least you can buy them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We can't. We're all out. We've had stock issues. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Who makes you strip?
All area. Area 20, go on, this bloke. But look, honestly, it's frustrating again because it's the second time that it's happened. It happened at the start of last season for Middlesbrough. We sold out of our initial demand, whatever it was. We got an initial supply of kits that went. And then it took months for them to get them back in stock that we could order. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting for, club website. And, some people are still waiting for emails that their kit's been, when they placed an order months ago. So unfortunately, people are, in the Middlesbrough kit region are quite upset really, because we're out of stock, and two, they're waiting on delays for shipping. So it's unfortunately not as good as what, the Adidas and Hummel launches for both of you boys, which is, and frustratingly, another mind the gap in the kit manufacturing as well. Anyway, on to next week. Let's go. Bournemouth v Newcastle, Stevie boy. Obviously, not a easy affair, obviously away from home in Bournemouth, but one that you'll be looking to continue on the good form.
It's an away game, and Newcastle need to improve, their away form. I think is vital if they're going to have a better season than they did last year. Just missing out, of course, on European football. But yeah, trip to Bournemouth, we've had mixed results there over the years. Been a happier hunting ground in recent times, but we've had a few occasions where we've gone down there and copped for a heavy defeat. So I'm expecting Newcastle really to go down there and make a statement. That's what I'm expecting next week. I'm expecting them to, certainly bounce back from, the performance that they put in yesterday in an attacking way. And I think Isak will be desperate to get on the score sheet after having to sit back and do defensive duties yesterday. So yeah, I think there'll be a big change. A lot will depend, of course, on who he picks at the back. That's the big key. What change will he make with Shaw out? Who will he bring in? I don't think he's going to move Dan Burn. I think he'll go with Kraft. I think the decision he'll make next week is does he risk setting Lewis Hall back mentally by dropping him after this week's performance and putting in Lloyd Kelly because he impressed when he came on? Or does he stick with the same team, bar Shaw going out and putting Kraft in? That's the decision he's going to make. I don't think there'll be any other decision to make. I think he'll go with, the team, but with Kraft in for Shaw. I think that's what he'll do. And then he'll have that opportunity to bring in other players. I think he'll be working on Lewis Hall's passing this week because there was a few misplaced passes. And I think that probably detracted from him having what people would have said was a really good game. He gave the ball away cheaply and will get punished off with their teams if he continues in that way. But I'm expecting to go to Bournemouth next week and win. I think it'll be a tight game. I still think that they'll be finding their way, to play with their new centre forward. So I think we're probably playing Bournemouth at the right time before he clicks with the team. I'm going to go for Newcastle to win by the odd goal and 2-1 win. But I'm expecting to come back with 3 points, set us up nicely for the Carabao Cup game midweek.
I'm going to go 1-1 in it. Teddy boy, obviously Sunderland, you spoke about it earlier, but it got a very tough test. Hosting though at home, which is is going to be, I think, hopefully, keeping the ball in your court. But Burnley at the Stadium of Light next weekend, mate. Tough ask, but look, you've shown all the credentials so far.
Very quickly on the Newcastle game, I think they'll sneak a 1-0. I think I'm seeing enough resilience from them to keep Bournemouth out. Like you say, Steve, the striker hasn't had time to gel yet, so I expect 3 points for the Geordies there. That stuck in my throat. But anyway, come on.
I went
1-1. I've done it now. I'm a disgrace to my family.
You can tell this week he's streaming on his own channel, you see. Trying not to upset his pals.
All 24 of my subscribers. We went up, lads. 21 subscribers added in a week.
452 watching live. We don't take it for granted, but thank you very much, everyone.
Brilliant.
For watching live.
Brilliant. Thank you. I don't know why. No, thank you very much, everybody. On to Sunderland, yeah, I see a tough game. If we get a point out of this game against Burnley, I think that also sets a statement that we can also keep up with them. They've been superb. And credit to Scotty Parker. A lot of Sunderland fans, he was linked with the Sunderland job in the summer, Scott Parker. There's a lot of fans scoffed at that idea. I didn't. I thought Scott Parker actually would have been a decent choice for us. We've got Regis now, and I'm very happy with Regis. I think we're going to give them a good game. Be a very, very entertaining watch, I think, next weekend. So I'm going for a 1-1. I'm going for a very entertaining game. So yeah, let's see how we do it.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see if you can bounce back. Obviously, a big test. I mean, not that Chef Wed wasn't a test, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see you back it up. Middlesbrough take on Portsmouth next weekend. Obviously, we've got the two both promoted teams in back-to-back. Obviously, lost 1-0 to Derby yesterday, and now we've got Portsmouth. I mean, am I worried? I am a little bit, but Middlesbrough literally got a week now to get their socks up and just to sort of, again, the hope is that we've learnt the lesson the championship, you need to rock up no matter who it is, no matter what team it is, no matter who's running it. You need to be there because any day, any team can win. And we've got Portsmouth at home at the Riverside next weekend. Obviously, a newly promoted team. Sammy Silvera, my Aussie lad who is on loan to them, he won't be able to play. He'll be obviously loan tied, so he won't be fit for Portsmouth. But listen, it's going to be a tough test as well. But a good week, hopefully, with Middlesbrough. The one question around Middlesbrough at the moment still is that left back position. Obviously, we lost Alex Bangura to what looks like a whole season Achilles injury. So we got Lucas Engel and this young McCormick, who is 19 years old, one of our own through the youth academy. But we've got not really a left back, to back up Engel. And unfortunately, Engel, probably needs a little bit more support. Carrick likes to change off the left back. The Ryan Giles thing's gone quiet as well. So will we see another left back come into the club? I don't think we're done in the transfer window, but I think if we get a left back, we'll be tidied up pretty nicely, and then we let the next 2 weeks sort of go without a fuss. I would hope, but yeah, big task on Middlesbrough's shoulders to get into training this week and really learn, into a young team that when that defeat needs to sharpen us up, because we can't be rocking up and losing 1-0 to derbies and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting, hopefully, against Portsmouth this weekend.
You're at home, right?
Yeah, we're at home, yeah.
Well, I think Sunderland's got a tough game next. I think you both got tough games for different reasons. Portsmouth got a 0-0 with Luton yesterday, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, they're not.
They dug in. Yeah.
They're no mugs. I think Boro are going to edge it. I think Boro will edge it 1-0.
Safe.
Definitely think they'll edge it. I really fear Sunderland's good run could come to an end next weekend, because Burnley are banging goals in for fun.
They are.
They look like that proverbial team that's just going to keep going up and down and up and down and up and down. They look like Southampton, Leicester, that the teams, Newcastle, we've got a history of coming down and going straight back up. Those kind of teams who just steamroller you. 2 games, 8 goals, none conceded, doesn't bode well. I think if it was a Stadium of Light coming off today's result, you might have a different kind of feel for this. I'm going to go 2-1 to Burnley. I think Sunderland will give them a game, but I'm going to go 2-1 to Burnley. I can't see you winning it, but I don't think 2-1 would be necessarily a disaster, because I think you're probably losing a game there against a team that's probably going to be there or thereabouts for the championship. And I think if you can go down there and not be disgraced and come away with some positives, I genuinely think Sunderland could be there or thereabouts at the end of the season as well. Remember last season, lads, I had used both for playoffs. I thought you would both end up in the playoffs. And it could have been, had Boro not got carried away with the cup competition, it could have been. And Sunderland were there or thereabouts. That division is so tight. And these teams getting hammered at the start of the season, it means nothing, as we know. Yeah. Teams can lose their first 3 games and still win the title in this division. So anything's possible. But yeah, I think Sunderland now will defeat Middlesbrough with a win. We'll have got a few questions coming in, lads, and there's a couple of really good ones. I'll answer this one quickly from I think this guy's a Sunderland fan. If Newcastle don't get European football this season, do you think Isaac and Bruno will go? I certainly think they'll be tested if they don't get European football. I certainly think that we could lose one of them. I don't think we'd lose both of them, but I think certainly one of them. And if I was to hazard a guess, I would say it was probably going to be Isaac, because goal scorers that are hardest to keep a hold of. I still think Bruno's sentimentality would keep him at the football club. But there we go. This one was from Barry, though, for you two lads. As 2 non-Toon fans, Ryan, Ted, do you think Palace are taking or extracting the urine, asking for £70 million for Gahey? And are Newcastle becoming a bit of a laughing stock with this?
I'll jump in first. I don't think so. The only thing Crystal Palace are probably hanging their hat on is the Euro tournament that he just had. I mean, they're seeing him as the centre back for England, isn't he? I mean, he's partnered John Stones in most of those games. He had a fantastic Euro tournament. He's their major asset, that Crystal Palace are hoping that they want to build on. Now, I said this earlier, when Newcastle come knocking, unfortunately, you go, wow, dollar signs like, the old, Scrooge McDuck probably go through the owner's, eyes and goes, right, well, Newcastle are worth how much? Let's, take them for all they've got, sort of thing. Now, Unfortunately, when it comes to Premier League as well, the price goes up. Then you got FFP and yada, 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 and we go down that thing. No, I don't think Newcastle are a laughing stock by any means. You know, I'd be love to be in a position where we're chasing a 70 million centre back. You know what I mean? And he's probably the future of England's, defence as well. So, no, I don't think you're the laughing stock. I do think that you are, that he is worth about that as well. I don't think they're trying to take the mickey. I honestly, we saw Harry Maguire and all that go for something around there. I know it's a tough ask, but there's not many else out there that I think have got the future. He's the starting centre back when England play now. Do you know what I mean? He's probably him and John Stones are the centre back pairing. So to take the England starting centre back for 65 million, I would take that as a win.
What do you think, Ted?
For me, no, I don't think it's a laughing stock thing at all. I think it would be a statement signing. I think Newcastle are very much a team in transition. God, this is going to stick in my throat. It really is. They're a team in transition, and they're a team that's growing at this moment in time. I think Aguehi signing is somebody who can lead that line for a good few years to come. I think you're signing somebody who could be potential club captain material. I think he's consistent. I think he's calm. I think he's good on the ball for a central defender. He's exactly the sort of player that a club like Newcastle needs in order to make that next step up. I think honestly, without getting silly, without getting like sort of 75s and 80 millions and all that sort of nonsense, that's when you draw the line and you move on. Of course it is. Everyone's got their limit where you go, are you just taking the mick now? But I think Newcastle should really test Palace as far as they can within their budget. After that, maybe, somebody else, I think it was Barry earlier on, mentioned Christensen. Apologies if it wasn't Barry and it was somebody else. Christensen from Barcelona, obviously the ex-Chelsea player. I think he's somebody who could probably step in and do a decent job. I just think Guehi is that kind of next level player that Newcastle really kind of, that's the player they're caught, and that's the player they want to take the club further as well. So I think they should go as far as they can, and let's see. But yeah, I would certainly chase them as much as they possibly could.
Good stuff. Well, that's come to the end of the second show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And just want to say well done to this lad. Do you recognise him, right?
Oh,
Marvin Emnes.
Frankie Coulson is the lad in black and white. Just to let you know, he got a 53rd minute goal yesterday at Little Benton at Saturday's under-18 fixture, the Premier League under-18 fixture between Middlesbrough and Newcastle. We won 1-0, right?
No.
The gap wide.
Just to compound your weekend. And he has one for all Northeast fans. There was a debut for Newcastle. Mason Miley, who is the brother of Lewis and Jamie. So,
no way! My goodness me! The Miley boys.
Just keeps on coming. Yeah.
Jeez.
Great stuff.
Well done.
Looking forward to catching up with you guys next week.
Yeah, thank you so much, lad.
Any exciting plans in Cyprus or Australia this week, chaps?
Ooh, I've got work, obviously, just normal stuff. But we've got an exciting kind of maybe a merch launch with a bit of Wake the Neighbours coming very soon. I've been asking, people have been asking about this for a long time. Obviously, the slogan Wake the Neighbours is quite synonymous on my channel when they score a goal. So we've been talking about launching some merch, but obviously we saw, as you guys are well aware, we saw some damage to Middlesbrough just recently with some riots and stuff like that. The Middlesbrough University and stuff like that was quite damaged. So maybe some merch launch very soon with some money going towards some much needed repairs after those riots. So that's kind of my week, but yeah, just hoping for a quiet old week.
I was in shock, to be honest, lads, that Middlesbrough had a university.
Cut us off. I'm done.
No, hey, fair play to you, mate. That's I applaud you. Respect where that's due, mate. It was absolutely disgraceful what was happening across the northeast. Apart from it's look, there's no room for all that. And if you're going to
that's where football's, we're bigger as an area, aren't we? When all three of us come together.
Totally. And David T says, great, watch this rivalry with respect.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what it should be.
And this
And
guy, he's
headbutt.
got the best name that I never ever read out of my channel.
Hang on a minute. Is that Sunderland fan a Geordie in disguise? Only
Yes.
joking, he shows great respect.
Yes,
All right.
yes, he is. He
I
is. He
swallow.
talks about it.
I swallow. Yes, well done. I swallow. Oh,
I know, yes,
I'm
yes,
so
careful,
glad I didn't.
Careful.
Yes.
Big Nigel and very happy, Louis says, I'm sending you some soap to wash your mouth out with the amount of mag praise going.
Yeah, I know, right? Somebody, please. Disgusting. He's just come back. He's come back in from the pub. That's all I'm going to say to you, audience. He's come back.
Stevie says that. I love it when you take the rise out of each other. Well, we will try our best to do that each week. We are going to do this once a week on a Sunday. It's only the second show, but an absolute pleasure to be with Ted and Mariah again, and look forward to seeing you next week, lads. Take care.
Have a great week.
Have a good one, lad.